The dogs run fast.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into my dog's favorite podcast, the Dynasty Dogs, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Universe. I am your host for this evening, Michael Anthony, and with me, as always, is my co-host, affectionately referred to as Richie from baseball by my grandmother. Rich, how you doing tonight?
How we doing?
How we doing?
But I always look forward to what you're going to come up with for my intro.
Yeah, I got to get my my Richisms in before the show starts because I will forget right away. With us tonight in the doghouse, we have two special guests from Fourth and Fantasy. First off, I want to say hello to these guys. We got Huncho and Rocco. Guys, drop your ats because I am terrible with that. We'll start with you, Huncho. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How we doing today, fellas? You can find me at the below. It's my handle, Huncho GAB, where you can find me talking the big bullshit.
Rocco, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You can find me at Rocco Soler FF. So I have been moved out of my studio, and my studio is in flux. That's why you got these fancy artworks behind me right now.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out, man. I was like, because it looks like a person with sunglasses on. Am I tripping, or is that what's happening?
I don't know. Based on the reflection, it looks like a lady with a banana in her hands.
What?
What the hell that is, my boy?
It's fellatio.
Fellatio. Hey, all right. Quickly get back on track here before we. Oh, it really is. Okay. No. Okay. I brought the screen.
Hey, he said,
oh man, I see your boogies.
We got an awesome show here tonight. We got
a
few quick news and notes, and then again, like last week, we're going to be doing our making our cases for buys in the running back and quarterback positions. This is going to be a very interesting conversation. Let's see if we could keep the Eagles-Cowboys conversation to a minimum because we already did it off air. I don't know if we could do it again on air.
Hey man, listen, it depends on what gets set. I'm ready for anything. Let's get to it.
Who that say they're gonna beat them Saints?
Yeah, you had to throw that one in there. Nobody's worried about you guys at Tyler.
Out of here. That's what.
Oh shucks!
With their 40-year-old rookie quarterback.
All right. Well, first
they
we'll
doing
get
stupid
into
shit.
Hey, raise your hand if you got the most cap debt in the room.
Yep.
It's not a bad strategy as long as you don't give the money to the wrong people, which the Mickey Loomis does time after time after time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Cam Jordan.
Has he? He hasn't been paid yet, right? Or is he still?
Yeah. I think
he just got a new contract, and I think he had like one sack.
I think it's because he has a cool mustache. He like curls his mustache. That they're like, you're in, dude. You gotta stop.
Don't get me wrong, dude's cool as shit. I see him at the movies all the time. He's with his kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's around town, but you know his football acumen has fallen off a cliff. Sorry, Cam. You need to be in a coaching type situation and not, starting DN.
Don't let him fool you. He was just trying to throw him in the swisher. Just last show, he was saying he's like he needs to hang it up. Yeah.
Now
I just said that. I said he's a nice guy. He needs the coach.
All right, well, let's get into that bite segment. That is our news and notes segment. We'll start off with the first things first. We got Sean Payton coming out saying that Audric Estime is going to get more touches and get more involved. We'll start with you with this one, Rocco. Do you think that's the case, or you just think he's bullshitting like usual?
Well, I'm sorry. I could have sworn I heard Huncho. My bad.
It's O's at the end because it was throwing me off too, to be honest with you.
No, I actually kind of liked Estime as a prospect. I thought he would get onto the field a little bit more last year. And it's just him and RJ Harvey, and he can be the thunder to Harvey's lightning. And I mean, let's be real. Harvey's not gonna, carry the load. So I think Estime and Harvey it is. I think you're trying to recreate the Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara duo. And if that happens for Estime, he's a big buy right now.
Yeah, for sure. And he's pretty much a throw-in at this point because I agree with you. I do think they're going to have a thunder and lightning type rotation there. I think that he's going to get the goal line short yardage carries, which does usually work out, especially around the goal line. If he falls in the end zone 5 or 6 times, could just be a solid season for him overall. But I do think RJ Harvey's light years ahead of him as an overall talent. What do you think, Huncho?
Honestly, I agree with what Rocco said, and honestly, I actually just gave away Estime for during a trade. I believe I did yesterday for a person that's on my list of buys, actually. So I won't spill the beans, but nevertheless, I do like Estime though coming out of last year. But once again, I think that whole RB class just is not really doing it for me after looking at first off after this incoming class that just came in, and then when you look at next year's class, it's almost like you're going to end up forgetting last year's RB class if they don't end up producing some type of relevancy this type of year. But I mean, if you look at Sean Payton's history, I feel like if you look at everybody what they say on the Twitters or wherever you get your football content, they're like, oh, Sean Payton has always had a 2-back system, so they go out their way to talk about this means that we should probably draw back the RJ Harvey talk of him getting all this volume. But listen, when I look at RJ Harvey, when I look at Estime, let me tell you one thing and two things are not. That boy Estime ain't fucking with that boy RJ Harvey. Let's get that out the way. So I think if we're looking at splits wise, what's stopping RJ Harvey from getting 220, 230, 240 carries in a season, and then the rest goes to Estime in the goal lines or whatever? You know what I mean? I think when RJ Harvey's probably your pass down back, and then if you really need someone to tough it out, to duck it out, because at the same time, RJ Harvey is going to be 25, I believe, during the season. You want to try to keep him as at least decent as possible throughout the season, because I feel like you don't go up and go get him if you didn't feel like your RB room was some ass from last year. So nevertheless, I think it's going to be pretty good for Sean Payton. I'm a really big believer in Sean Payton, so I think it's going to be good.
Rich?
I agree with everyone, what you're saying with the 2-back system. With Williams leaving, I kind of think it opens the door more or less for a open room. I agree with Estime being the thunder to RJ Harvey's lightning. Short yardage maybe, but I was high on Estime last year. I traded him to you, Mike, you bastard. I didn't see any of these. You've seen the writing on the wall, but yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see, now that I feel like Williams was such a ball and chain there. He kind of held back the rest of the running backs in that room, so I'm kind of excited to see where they go. Oh yeah, I forgot. Move your head. There's a star there. I get it. All right.
Shit.
Okay. Wait. Let me watch this. I'm gonna throw a grenade in. Rico Dowdle was better than Williams. Should have kept Dowdle.
I can't disagree with that one either, though.
Oh man, I thought you would have been like, oh no, Javonte Williams is.
I like Dowdle. People like to crap on Rico, but he held it down when we really needed him the most. But I really do think that people underestimate how big Javonte Williams' injury was a few years back. It wasn't just the ACL.
But he's always injured, though. That's the point.
I mean, man, look down. He's a Cowboy now. He's running for 1,000 touchdowns. He's going forward. He's better than Saquon. He's better than Saquon.
I think the right answer is all of those guys are going to have 300 yards, and all of them going to kind of suck.
Yeah.
Miles, you're about to say Miles Sanders.
Mafia.
Chev has actually. We was talking a little bit about Miles Sanders. He wanted to get my opinion on him, and I really do think there's a world where Miles Sanders could end up maybe potentially the starter if he shows something, right? I do think he had a little bit of glimpses last year of Carolina, but
I want to tell you what's going to happen there. Let me tell you real quick. He's going to run for 2,000 yards east to west. That's what's going to happen. He's
He's-
going to be a 2,000-yard runner. I've seen this movie before.
I gotta ask you now. I gotta ask, man, because now I gotta get since y'all Eagles fans. Do the Eagles fans don't mess with Miles Sanders anymore?
No, I mean I don't. I never did.
Well, he was fine. The biggest problem with him is what Rich said, is that he was too, and it's kind of an RJ Harvey thing.
So
too.
fucking annoying, dude.
He's one of those guys that likes to bounce out, that won't just take what's ahead of him. He loves to just take it to the outside. That's an RJ Harvey issue too, going back to him. That's something he's going to have to get out of the way right away. Otherwise, Denver's going to be turning on him like we did Miles. But then after Miles, we brought in DeAndre Swift, who had a very similar issue. And then we brought in Saquon Barkley, which heals all wounds. And we now we can, crap on Miles Sanders. And then
Saquon
LaShawn
Barkley, baby.
out there. You got LaShawn McCoy out there who throws shots at the Eagles all the time now. So
He's a TV guy, man. He's a TV guy.
Our history with running backs is not overly great, but listen. I still do have a special place in my heart for Miles Sanders because he was a fun player to watch.
Is it at the bottom of your heart, like in the back basement, like in a box?
One of my clogged arteries from all the baconators I've eaten over the years. Let's get into the next little bit here. The Stephon Diggs situation is a murky one. I saw a report today. I believe I sent it to you guys in the Discord chat. There, one of the I forget the name off the top of my head. Patriots beat writers said that cutting Stephon Diggs is on the table for the New England Patriots. You got something, Huncho?
I saw that. I saw that a little earlier today. But at the same time, it's like, if you do that, I mean, God forbid a man want to live his life a little free, right? God damn, he can't. A little coke on the boat now is shit.
Cocaine stuff.
Right.
Pink bag. We don't know what it was.
Allegedly,
We
but everyone
fucking know
turns
what
into
it
a
was.
reporter on Twitter.
Right, my fault. I didn't know. We don't know what kind it was, but goddamn, God forbid.
You seen those girls' reaction. You know what that was.
Yeah, man.
You're like, ooh.
It's crazy though, but I wish he was somebody who could keep it ball in the way, because I still think Stephon Diggs could be a serviceable member of a football team. But goodness gracious, there was already talks that he wasn't going to be back until week 4 potentially. And so, what do? You go into the season with Javon Baker, Kyle Williams, and Demario Douglas, and pray that
Polk,
right, and hope Polk takes it a step. You might you might just have to really throw to Trevion Henderson about 100 times, type shit. That's what it's looking like right now. If with New England, because they just can't get it right, and then you just shelved up. I got to look at his contract again to see how it's set up and if they could get out if they do release him. But goodness, it's not a good start for Stephon Diggs in New England.
So speaking of Kool-Aid powder, Rich, with this news or situation that came out, are you shaken or stirred when it comes to your?
You don't want to hear my thoughts, because last week I was all about Stephon Diggs. I'm like, dude, he's gonna be. He had 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I'm like, I'm sitting here going to bat for this dude, and I'm like, whatever. The big thing about Twitter is everyone turns into a journalist. Everyone turns into has their speculations. We have no idea. In my opinion, I would have thought, if the NFL seen that video, which they obviously did, the next day or once his ass hit the sand, he would get drug tested. Has there been any thoughts on that? Have there been any drug tests
on it? What I saw, the NFL won't comment on it right now.
But hey, the reporters on Twitter will get to the bottom of it. There's been no drug tests. I can't imagine he's that stupid to void out that money, because he would get cut as soon as look at him. I was hyped up on Stephon Diggs last week, man. Now I'm like, the fuck, dude. I can't backtrack it, dude. I can't backtrack it.
Wide receiver one energy.
Dude, he is if he's playing, you know what I mean? Like, there's no one there.
Can we talk about how he was doing last year before he got hurt?
Yeah,
he was about
last year.
I think he had like 426 or something like that. He was well on his way to 1,000 yards, and then got injured, and then, but that would have been 7,000-yard seasons in a row.
That argument for me though with him is that he's 31 years old now. He's coming off an ACL injury. Does he still have it? There's a lot. there's a lot of mouths to feed in New England now. Are they, the best wide receivers or the best pass catchers? That remains to be seen. But you got Travion Henderson, you mentioned. Hunter Henry is still the safety blanket in New England to me. Listen, Hunter Henry is still a top 12 guy in fantasy last year, and everybody just
for every tight end for a young. That's a story for every young quarterback. The tight end's a safety blanket for every young quarterback.
But Hunter Henry's been that dude for a long time now, and I think for Drake May, he's just been that guy, especially around the goal line. And then you got my guy Javon Baker, who just needs to settle down a little bit.
Right.
I need him to just stick the ball because I know the kid is talented. Everybody and their mother knows the kid is talented.
Yeah.
I seen a report yesterday where he got screamed at by Vrabel because he was taunting after a play. That's the Patriot way. That's the Vrabel way. That's fine. And then they had a conversation afterwards, and what I was reading was Javon was taking it on the chin, blah blah blah. So let's see how. That's not even remotely Paul.
Told you. I told you.
Pause.
But you know what I mean.
I told you. What are we? 16 minutes in. I told you.
Chin nuts. Oh man. Wow. That quick.
But then
he's taking it on the chin, dude.
I think
that's been a saying forever. Let's get.
Oh man, I'm dying.
Come on, no, that was straight nitty. That was all baby oil.
Baby oils.
Then we got. God, Rocco.
No, I think for this team not to be a Mickey Mouse offense, they're going to need either Baker or Kyle Williams to kind of break out in a big way. We're going to have to get, what we think Travion Henderson can be in the passing game, because it's not looking good for these other weapons that they have. I think Polk is not it. I mean, Demario Davis is probably better in the slot than he is at this point. So somebody's going to have to break out for this team to move the ball at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody's going to have to be the playmaker, right? Because they have been depleted of playmakers for a long time. I'll get the words right eventually. It's just going to take me a minute. My brain can't function fully. Other than Travion Henderson, who do they have as a real Kyle Williams? I think we all can agree is an electric player, electric route runner, electric after the catch ability. He's a 3rd round pick, so we have to kind of weigh our expectations with that slightly. I think he could be that guy, but Travion's an early 2nd round pick. That is their electric playmaker, in my opinion.
Agreed. I think he gives you since we have Josh McDaniels back, he gives you that James White type of effect where he loves tossing the ball, checking those checkdowns to his backs, being able to throw. Shoot, James White, I think, almost caught 70 balls in one season. God, yeah, now you messing me up, Mike. God damn.
You can't even talk about the old ball game today.
Messing me up, man. But I
catching 70 balls.
I like me some Travion. Once again, everyone's going to have to step up. Javon Baker's going to have to mature up. Jalen Polk, you're going to have to show up. Demario Douglas, you're going to have to do more than what you have. Not to say that Demario Douglas hasn't shown up in games, but need more from you. Even a name that's so we won't get too far deep in the weeds, but even a name that has made some noise throughout OTAs is our boy Efton Chisholm. So I think we'll know more as training camp goes. That's when I really think you find out a lot about these guys. Yes, everyone kind of looks good in OTAs because you're playing against air, but once someone starts putting it back to ass, what are you going to do in those padded practices? So,
I think that I like how you mentioned Demario Douglas, because I really think he should be that Wan'Dale Robinson type player where he gets hundreds of targets, where he just is that get open quick dude, slot wide receiver. I think he's perfect for Drake May, but he's probably the most inconsistent out of that archetype of Wan'Dale Robinson and stuff like that. So I'm waiting for Demario to be a thing. It's just not happening.
Well, the thing is also too, you got to realize the whole wide receiver room is 2 years in, 3 years max.
Probably.
So it's you're kind of waiting for all of them to take their leaps at the same time. They have no, and that's where Diggs comes in. He's the the grizzled veteran, whereas everyone else is 2-3 years in. So you want them all to take the leap at the same time.
That was a crazy trust. The crystal veteran. Damn.
Oh, the
Oh,
I
Lord,
got
we are quickly getting off the rails here. Rails.
Rails. That was a good one too.
Kind of to circle back around to the cap situation, the team has 67 million 0.6 in cap space for this year, and next year they have 31 million in cap space. So if they want to cut him, they have the money to do it. I mean, I feel like they just signed him because he was one of the few guys that were willing to come, because all off season we were waiting for him to make a big move, and Stephon Diggs was the guy that took their money.
Oh, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, I agree with Rich, though. It was a good spot for him. It was a good spot for them because they needed a vet. It's just maybe not the vet that they should have taken a swing on with, a young team. They should have probably, I don't know, D-Hop maybe could have been that dude. You probably could have got him for a lot cheaper, right? In my opinion.
He's a lot dustier, too.
True.
Whoa, hold on now. He just posted a pic where he just hit 20 miles per hour in practice now. He still
I'll tell you what, that's way faster than I've ever ran.
His scooter goes that fast, or what?
Yeah. His rascal. All right, gentlemen, let's get into our buys.
Wait, real quick, Mike. We got a ball and chain off of our team. The news coming out today that Bryce Huff is getting moved. I don't know if you've seen that. Thank you, God.
I saw.
I mean, if we play IDP, that works out.
Well, I mean, it's news and it's notes.
True.
Okay.
So do I.
There you go.
True. So
no, he should be moved. He should be moved by June 1st, or I think they said, what was it, post June 1st, whatever that. I don't really understand that whole that lingo. The post June 1st deadline or whatever it is to save money. But thank God that loser's gone.
Actually, the fantasy relevant news that I forgot to mention is the potential Jonnu Smith trade to Pittsburgh that Adam Schefter tweeted out yesterday.
I don't know who needs to hear this. Somebody needs to arrest Arthur Smith right the fuck now. Like, bust into his house and arrest this man, because how many tight ends do you need, brother? we need to investigate why he has this weird fantasy of just having guys he's not about to use. Because ain't no way.
It's a fantasy fetish.
Right. Like, what do you nothing in your offense says you need a Jonnu Smith. He's not the guy that you need right now.
I will say he kind of broke out for the Falcons before he fully broke out last year for the Dolphins. So I think he's got he kind of likes Jonnu, because
they were together in
used
Atlanta,
him big time over Kyle Pitts in 2023.
The thing with them is like, why do they keep doing that? Like the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, like, you're talking about bringing in Aaron Rodgers, right? Why? First of all, why would you do that? 2, you traded away George Pickens, your 1A, 1B wide receiver in Pittsburgh. You traded him away, but you're apparently contending. And then you got Pat Freiermuth, who's okay. So now you're bringing in Jonnu Smith. I don't really understand exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing as an offense right now. And that's kind of what I'm just avoiding by all stretch of the imagination.
I don't think they understand what they're doing.
But it's provocative.
I want to go down this rabbit hole, but it's going to end up me giving away one of my QB buys. So
we'll get into that right now. Let's get into our QB buys. Let's get into our running back buys as well. Let me hit this little media thing here.
In the Dynasty,
I knew you got to tell
having
people.
Bad traits is considered especially heinous. In the fantasy football universe, a dynamic duo called the Dynasty Dogs is here to help you win your leagues. These are their theories.
I like that shit, yo.
That's pretty badass, isn't it?
Thank you. So tonight, again, we are going to be making our cases to our jury of peers here when it comes to our Dynasty, who we're going to go out and buy. Rich, why don't you start us off this week?
All right.
You can pick which position you want to go with first.
All right. I'm going to go with running backs first. And that's going to be one of my guys that I have on my current roster, and that's Mr. Chase Brown. All right. Now, bear with me now. I'm going to read my notes. The Bengals invested in their offensive line this year in the draft, taking a running back not until the 6th round in Brooks.
Brooks. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That to me tells me that they are invested in Chase Brown. That means that's their guy. There was a plethora of running backs that they could have taken way before the 6th round, and they did not. He was a running back 6 last year in PPR from week 4 to week 17. That to me, dude, that's some pretty solid numbers. He has 16.4 points per game. I think that could be, easily a running back 1, 2-ish type running back. And I think he's got the job at least for this year. So then I think he takes a step further during this season because he's got no one else behind him. Zach Moss, who's been, nothing in the 4 teams he's went to, been either injured or hurt. And then, like I said, they drafted a guy in the 6th round. So I looked up some trades that I've seen, and I guess this is going to get some of our guys going in here, Pauls. Brown for Dak Prescott.
Oh, that's
Chase
easy.
Brown for Dak Prescott.
Is that super flex? Do you know?
Mhm.
It
That's
is.
not happening in none of the leagues I'm in, but hey, it's.
Dude, I use that Dynasty Daddy website that you sent me. I was okay.
No,
I would take Dak on that one.
Okay.
I would take that. I would take the Dak side, but I mean, if somebody was very QB needy, I could see them happening.
What about I feel like this is going to be Brown, but Brown for Travis Etienne. It was straight up.
That's Chase Brown. Easy.
Yeah, it's Chase Brown.
Yeah.
I really want that to be
Yeah,
Travis
no.
Etienne, but that ain't happening at this point.
And the last one I seen, this one was kind of more intriguing. Chase Brown for Ayuk and a 2025 201.
Ooh.
I mean, okay, so here I am with this. I'm not the biggest Brandon Ayuk guy. And that's not me saying that he's not a good player. That just I kind of I like to contend every year, and I just think it's going to take a little bit of time for Ayuk to get back to where he was. And then at this point, I think Juwan Jennings has taken over as the wide receiver 1 for the 49ers. So it's like, what do you do now? I think if he doesn't come back as we want, I think he could end up potentially being he could end up being moved. He's still somebody who could still end up being moved after a year. I think that relationship is still wishy-washy right now between the 49ers.
Well, didn't they pay him? They paid him.
Yeah,
Right?
he's making $30 million a year.
But they didn't like how I still heard that they didn't like how he handled the situation about him like going out trying to get the money. So it will be very interesting to see how the season goes for him, because if he doesn't come back, one, he got the money, then got hurt, and then if you come back and you do not look at all like you did before you got the money and before the injury, shit can start getting a little ugly. And
Right.
Yeah, I mean.
So I'd be comfortable trading a back end 1, early 2 for him. Where are you guys at?
So for me, for my value for him is probably what I would say about the 110, roughly, maybe the 111 in that range, right? If RJ Harvey's on the board, I'm not trading for Chase Brown. I'm taking RJ Harvey. That's just me personally. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Caleb Johnson, to me, that one I could go either way.
I think I'd take Caleb.
You would take who?
I think I would take Caleb.
I think I would too, but I just don't know if, again, I just went over how I don't really trust this Steelers offense right now, right? I don't trust the weapons that they have. I don't trust the offensive line because we keep hoping that, Broderick Jones takes the next step. That's not happening. I'm just not sure. And then there's the tight ends. Like if this is tight end premium, I'm probably going to lean that way. But again, for that price, if you need a running back and RJ Harvey's off the board, it's not the best. It's not the worst case scenario. So I'm okay with it.
Okay.
What about you?
I'd rather trade a 26 pick for him.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
If I'm a championship contender, I think I would send a first for him. I'm not necessarily all the way in on him.
Applause.
But I
gotta get my.
I think he is an elite offense, so that I think that buoys his fantasy production. So as long as he could hold on to that role, I think he'll be all right. But I just picked up a stat here from my good friend Angelo, and Chase Brown in 2024, when receiving 10 or more carries, 3.38 yards per attempt, and when receiving less than 10 carries, 6.42. So you can see why they brought in a Taj Brooks to kind of absorb some of that load and keep the offense moving.
And ring a ding 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 to Taj Brooks. I got a ton of him.
Yeah, I got Taj Brooks everywhere. So
Okay.
That's exactly.
I'm invested in the cheap option there because I can get Taj Brooks, in the middle to late fourth round of rookie drafts.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm trying to invest in that offense.
One important thing that I would just like to point out to everybody from last year. Zach Moss had Chase Brown ass on the goddamn bench before his neck injury.
Before his plethora of injuries on his 50th team that he's been on, he had the opportunity to start on every team he's been on, and he's like, I'm hurt every time.
Right. I mean, listen,
every time, dude.
I actually like Zach Moss, and I'm not somebody who's going out to. I see the upside. There's because when you think about Chase Brown, he really makes his money in that passing game, and then he can make them explosive plays that I think Taj Brooks, nevertheless, is still a good runner. He's more explosive. I think he's better. He's one of those guys where I would throw him in that with those guys who are better with limited touches because they stay explosive. They don't get nicked up. They don't, they got a good enough gas throughout the rest of the game to really be able to go. But if I were to shoot my shot at Chase Brown, I would see if someone would go about it for I know probably because people like to charge an arm and a leg, and if they don't feel like they're coming out a winner by a landslide, they don't want to do it. But let's see what a second and a third is talking. That's literally how I'm going about it. Like I'll shoot you a second and a third, and you try to shoot me for a first, I'm probably gonna shoot you back. So that's how I'm going about that one.
Okay.
So the dynasty peers that we are, Huncho, what do you say? Yes or no to Rich's buy of Chase Brown?
If you're a contender, I'd buy. I'm on a buy. He's in a good offense, and at the end of the day, with I believe Higgins coming back, it actually does him a service as well as keeping them a well-balanced team and opening up that run game. So I say it's a buy. I approve.
Rocco?
I'm not a big fan of his. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I wasn't in on him as a rookie. And maybe he's going to kick me in the ass. He almost did last year in a couple leagues. But you saw down the stretch as he got more touches, he got more banged up. And that's a worry for me. So if they can keep his touches down, I think he could be more effective. But, also will go down his fantasy production. I think I'm out because I like some other guys that I can get in his range, notably the guy that I'm going to be in on. So I think I'm out.
All right, I won one.
So I'm going to go with that. This is an okay buy. I'm going to side with you on this one, Rich. For the running back position, you kind of mentioned it, Huncho, when you mentioned like the electric running back that can win you a week by a big play. Mm-hmm. He's essentially like a much cheaper version of Devon Achane, right? So if you're getting that towards the back end, it's really not that bad of a flip, especially if you're trying to win now. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. Like obviously, rebuilding a team is fun, but if you're this close, and if you feel like you're this close, and if Chase Brown can do that for you, then you might as well take the shot.
He's essentially a running back 6 for 13 weeks.
True.
Fact.
All right, so who wants to go next? Rocco, Huncho, who would like to go with running back?
You can go ahead, Rocco, if you like to.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go running back. Okay. Let me present my case for my guy. He's around. He's actually running back 15 according to Fantasy Pros, and running back 14 on KTC. He ran a 4.38, which is 98 percentile. He had a 99% dominator rating. Actually, in 11 games last year, he had where is it? He had 46 catches for nearly 300 yards. So my guy is Kenneth Walker the third.
Oh, I wasn't sure where you were going. I was trying to figure it out.
And I think he's a good. Oh yeah. Yeah, he had in 11 games, he had 61 missed forced tackles, which is good for 7th in just 11 games. PFF, he had the 3rd best rushing grade and the 6th best offensive grade, 3rd in elusive rating. I think what drives people off is the 15 games in his first 2 years and only 11 games in that last year. I think his problem is he needs yoga or Pilates. He needs to stretch out,
right?
Get those hammies right. You know, everybody knows
that oblique is always banged up.
Everybody knows before you go work out, you need to get a good stretching in. And don't go to Deshaun Watson's people. You know, you don't want to get that kind of stretching in because you'll get stretched right out of the league. So don't do that. But I think another thing that scares people off is he only had 3.8 yards per carry last year. But I kind of attribute that to a couple things, namely the 24th run blocking grade that the Seattle Seahawks had last year. And he also has the habit, I know we talked about this with RJ Harvey actually earlier. He bounces out a lot. So he needs to take, what's there more often. But some of his most amazing plays happened when he bounced out. There was a play against the Lions where I think 3 guys crashed the line and pushed him in the backfield, and he bounced off for a touchdown. They actually had 3 touchdowns in that game. And he wasn't a pass catcher coming out, but his touchdown last year was an over-the-shoulder jumping touchdown in the end zone. So I think he still has a lot of upside. He just needs to stay healthy, and I think this guy has league-winning potential.
Rich, what do you think?
So I've always kind of liked Kenneth Walker, but, like you guys touched on, he's always kind of hurt all the time. And here's the caveat. If you also have Charbonnet, who seems to turn into like Barry Sanders when Kenneth Walker is out, that's kind of a big plus. But I like Walker, but I'm always afraid of his damn injury history.
But that's where the buying opportunity comes in.
Yeah,
that's true. Right that like if you can get him cheap, then hell yeah.
I've been getting him for late first everywhere.
What is your definition of cheap? So what I didn't want to spill the beans.
Late 26 first.
So yes, that's basically what I just acquired. Kenneth Walker III. He's been relatively. I've actually acquired him, I believe, 3 times in the last 2 or 3 days, and I had traded Estime in a 2026. And it's looking like a late first, as I was in the playoffs last year. So for Kenneth Walker III, which I think is relatively cheap for him, and what the value he could be. I'm somebody who's not the highest on the 2026 class, so I'm changing some of these guys, some of these picks into production this year. And Kenneth Walker III was a good candidate for me to go acquire for this league.
Yeah, the 26 class is mostly, if I'm not mistaken, I'm still early in that, but quarterbacks is mostly what you're shooting for.
Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love too. I forgot. That's a good one. I forgot about that.
It's top heavy, I think.
Yeah, it's top heavy. So if you're not in that range, then it is good to throw those at like a Ken Walker. So I am actually going to say I'm with this one as well. Just because, and I'm not the biggest Ken Walker fan, to be honest with you, because of all the things we mentioned, especially with the oblique. The oblique seems to be like the weakest part of his body. That's his Achilles heel, because that just seems to be the thing that always gets aggravated. But if I'm going to say I'm going to pay a late first or be okay with paying a late first for Chase Brown, I'm definitely okay with it for Ken Walker, because I believe in more of Ken Walker being an every down back, like continuing to be the guy going forward in Seattle. Flip side answer for me, though, is if I'm going to buy a piece of this running back room, I'm going to spend cheaper on Zach Charbonnet, to be honest with you. I'm going to go in and spend like a late. I like Zach Charbonnet, man, especially because we just talked about the injuries. Zach Charbonnet is going to get some run.
Dude, he turns back into a pumpkin after, the 3 games that Walker, misses.
So now he's going to space.
I just want to just say that I got to get this microphone a little closer, and I want the audience to hear me out. Fuck Zach Charbonnet. Hold up. I'm not done.
Yeah, he's like, he puts up like 25 and he puts 25 and change every time Walker's out.
Right. That's because he gets you got 100% of the carries.
Damian Martinez is about to put up one a pack.
Damian Martinez is there now.
I do.
Yeah, he better hope Damian Martinez don't gets cut in the preseason because he's coming.
But I will say the acquisition of going out to get a Kenneth Walker III, it really just depends on how much of a risk of a player like you like to go about. Me, I like to take chances sometimes. Maybe it might work out, or maybe I might be punching a hole in the wall at the end of the year because that's one of the bad trades I made. It happens, but like I think if there's a player to go get the upside for that could win you something, I think Kenneth Walker is one of those guys that could get you to that promised land for sure. And then if you even like Kubiak and what he brought to the Saints last year, and then his style of play, I think absolutely is great for what Kenneth Walker III does. I think honestly, he can only really go up.
I kind of forgot Kubiak's there, to be honest with you. So that's an interesting take as well. I think we're all in agreement here. Ken Walker's a good one, a good buy, another league-winning potential kind of guy, right, that you're going to get at the 110. My last question, RJ Harvey or Ken Walker, since we've kind of all preached up Harvey.
Ken Walker.
I take Ken Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Huncho, think about it. I'm gonna let him go first.
That's a hard one. I'm sorry. I know that for y'all that was an easy one, but for me, it was like I think RJ Harvey has the same kind of. If he gets used properly, he could have the same type of output in 2020. Ooh, I'm gonna have to go against the grain against this one. I'm gonna go with RJ Harvey here.
Yeah, I got to go RJ Harvey too as well. I was just waiting for somebody to say it before I did. I didn't want to be. It could be. Listen, I could fall flat on my face when it comes to RJ Harvey.
Yeah, for sure.
He's in a better situation. Harvey too. He's definitely in a better situation than Ken Walker, especially from run blocking, offensive line play. He's got the better head coach. I think that's pretty safe to say in Sean Payton. So I'm going to take the upside swing on Harvey there. But Huncho, let's go with you. Who's your running back by?
Running backs. I see Rocco took one off my list. I'm going to let him live with that one. But somebody who I'm very much like to keep hyping up on because I feel like he's been thrown through the gutter, but I'm going to keep rising him back up each time is DeAndre Swift for the Chicago Bears. I think relatively when it comes to buys and what and now it really depends on per league because some people don't lost their damn mind and like, I'm looking for a first for Swift. First off, go to hell. And
right.
Not happening.
That's crazy.
Not happening, brother. But we could. I'll do a 2000. I'll do like a second. I would even do a second and a fourth. Yeah. This is if the Chicago Bears don't add another running back to that room, right? Once again, go Dogs. Y'all know how I feel about my Georgia Bulldogs. I think Ben Johnson loves him some DeAndre. So if people really like, oh, didn't he ship him off when he was in Detroit? No, that wasn't Ben Johnson. But nevertheless, if there was anybody to get hired to the Chicago Bears to bring the most out of DeAndre Swift, wouldn't we want it to be Ben Johnson and to use him in the right way? Now, we saw him at the very most of him with the Philadelphia Eagles. We saw what he could be with y'all. Now, it was a little hit or miss. He was very inconsistent there where he would pop off. Maybe he'll have a game with 50 yards, and then the next game he'll run for about 190. You just never knew. But I think this year, when you throw into the pass catching part, like who's Roshan Johnson to DeAndre Swift? Let's keep it a buck. Like that's not to throw no shade to Johnson, but Swift better pass catcher. And then as a runner, I'm still taking Swift each time. So, and then if you throw a video I just saw recently that has me feeling a little more down on my non-guy, but nevertheless, I still think he said you're running like an old man or some shit like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I still think non-guy could be one of those guys that could sneak in once those pads come on. So DeAndre Swift, I think for a second or a second and a fourth on relatively something, if they don't go out and add another running back, he could smash where he's being taken in ADP.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. If you would have said this to me pre-draft, I would have said absolutely not. I would have absolutely said the Bears are taking a running back. Somebody's going to take DeAndre Swift's job. It didn't happen. He is the lead back of this rotation. He's the home run hitter. I want all of the pieces of this Bears offense, to be honest with you. I think they're all great across the board. And it all starts with the offensive line that they put together. So that's going to help DeAndre Swift as much as it will for Caleb Williams. So I'm all in on this one, especially for a second and a fourth, or even if I have to throw a third out there. I think we all love our third round picks, right? But at the end of the day, the hit rate for those is so minuscule. It's kind of
you love them until you get to the third round, then you're like, fuck, dude. Like there's
reason for that
nothing here.
Because a lot of people turned those third rounds last year into Irving. That's really what it was.
And then the Pukas in the fourth.
But he was the only guy, though.
So I mean, I get it.
The only guy there.
The likelihood of hitting on those thirds, there really are dart throws when you really put your money on it. So like, why not? Especially in a class, if you're not very heavy on. Once again, I'm not very high on that 2026 class. So what is a 2026 third or a second to me? Honestly,
for sure.
No, I agree, dude. Whatever. You go, I go. You go, I go.
No, go ahead, Rich. I already gave my thumbs up for this one.
I love the buy of Swift. I think he's relatively cheap. Like you said, the 2026 class is not looking great. I think he's kind of a home run hitter. We've seen him here. I was sad as shit as soon as he signed in Chicago 0.1 second, and then I was like, oh wait, I waited a little bit, and then we got Saquon Barkley won the Super Bowl. It's just history from there. But dude, I loved him when he was here. A Philly guy. He was he was like a hit or miss guy with the 50 yards or 190, but he hit that. Damn, I stopped myself. Whoa. He hit that running lane. He hit that running lane quick. And in Ben Johnson's offense, dude, I was gonna say he hit the hole, and I'm like, oh no. Oh no, don't do it. Don't do it. No, in Ben Johnson's offense, I think he's going to take off, and it's crazy. He dodged the biggest bullet of them. It's like him and Chase Brown both dodged the biggest bullets of we're like, yeah, they're definitely taking a running back. Yeah. And then it got later and later and later, and I'm like, they didn't take a running back yet. So I'm like, damn, yeah, he's safe. So yeah, I think it's wheels up for him this year at least.
Rocco,
if I could get him for a second plus, I think I'm in. I've been out all off season, but they haven't brought in anybody of note unless Roshan Johnson finally does something. And I think the best case for Roshan is if they're like a poor man's Gibbs and Monty. But yeah, they paid DeAndre Swift a lot of money to be the lead back there. So if I can get him for a second, maybe a fourth, I'm good with that. I don't think I would give up more than that. But I think it's a slight buy because I've always liked DeAndre Swift as a prospect, and he's let me down for most of his career, but it might be finally time for him to pay off.
He's just one of those guys. Once again, I think we brought up these guys who get nicked up a lot. So he's one of those soft tissues he ends up getting. But when he's on the field, and actually, and Mike, you hit on this heavy, is that they did go out their way to improve that offensive line. So hopefully, going forward, and the concepts that Ben Johnson brings, it makes the lives for everybody in that whole offense easier.
So the crazy thing is, I think we all took running backs who are perennially banged up, right? So let me give you mine, right? This guy could help you get to the fantasy mansion somewhere in Wisconsin. It's going to be Marshawn Lloyd. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel on this one. We are really scraping the bottom of the barrel on this one.
Oh, fuck.
Listen, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me get to it.
Yuck.
This is going to be
He didn't even make my cut candidate show.
Did he? Or
Sorry.
did he not?
He didn't.
He didn't. This is going to be my pick for the bounce back of 2026. Last year it was Tank Bigsby. It was solid season for Bigsby. I think Marshawn Lloyd could do something similar with the Green Bay Packers. He was drafted at the 3rd round at the 25th pick, 5'9", 220, 4.46 speed. A guy, the kind of spark that the Packers really needed as a guy. We talked about 3, now 4 running backs who are home run hitters. And Marshawn Lloyd is that guy when he's healthy. That's the biggest thing. He's never been healthy in his whole entire college career and now in the NFL career.
Boy, that makes me want to go out and get him.
But hold on. He's pretty much been –
Oh, yeah.
What a case.
Listen, he's pretty much a Lemony Snicket's a series of unfortunate events last year with the hip injury, the appendicitis. As a guy who's had an appendicitis, that shit sucks, right?
Yeah, me too. I'm there with you, brother.
Yeah, that shit sucked. But again, they needed somebody to come in and be the lightning to Josh Jacobs' thunder. And let's not forget, Josh Jacobs has the fourth most rushing attempts in all the running backs that are active right now. He had the 6th most rushes last year. And then you have a guy in Emmanuel Wilson who turned out a pretty decent season at 103 carries, 502 yards, 4 TDs. Those to me are going to Marshawn Lloyd. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't want to hear about none of them stunk ass other impact running backs. But a sleeper to keep an eye on in that Green Bay backfield that a lot of people don't know about. But I think if he gets a chance, he could actually end up being something. Amara Johnson.
Get out of here. Anyway, I think get out of here. I think those carries that Emmanuel Wilson had will go to Marshawn Lloyd. Here's what Weston Hudswink, I don't know how to say his name, from Packers.com said. Lloyd stayed in Green Bay throughout, even driving Josh Jacobs to practice every day while preparing the all-pro running back with questions. Independently, Lloyd stayed in the playbook, watched every practice he could, and worked with position coach Ben Simmons on the nuances of playing running back in the NFL. Although he didn't get much to see as Lloyd as a rookie, Simmons was impressed by the electrifying runs the running back showed on the scouting team when he was available to practice this season. Listen, I say all that to say this dude knows he's on the bubble, right? This dude knows that he has to come out there and do something because they drafted him relatively high for a reason, right? Third round running back selections are usually pretty good when it comes to hit rates. My thing is you're getting him for relatively nothing at this point. I've seen 2026 thirds for Marshawn Lloyd. You want to talk about dart throws? You might as well throw it for the dude who's in the league now, who has 3rd round capital, who has the home run hitting ability. You've got the 304 for Marshawn Lloyd and the 405. I'd willing to take that swing there. You got the 207 for Lloyd and the 308. That one's a little spicy, but I also don't hate it to a certain extent. But throw it this way.
Yuck. PU, dude. PU. That one falls.
Hold on.
Give me Jack Besh.
Time out. Let's say 207. We'll throw a name to these. 207's Cam Scatteraboo for Marshawn Lloyd and Jalen Royals.
Cam Scatteraboo.
Fuck yeah.
Why you had to say Jalen Royals?
Yeah, because I know how to play this game.
You over here, you know that's my boy. Jalen Royals me every goddamn time. God damn it. Give me my dog.
Yeah, so I mean his price for what you could get, and again, if he gets around, or I think he could get more than Emmanuel Wilson's touches last year.
He can,
because they need somebody to help Josh Jacobs, because even Josh Jacobs said it. They needed help last year at the wide receiver position because they didn't have anybody. So why not add a good pass catching electric running back in Marshawn Lloyd? Again, I said a lot there. I said a guy that I guess I have a feeling I'm going to get all no's on this one. But again, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. You're taking a swing for 3rd round picks anyway. take it from Marshawn Lloyd. Who's going first and telling me that it's a bad call?
Hey man, put
yeah.
that man in the back. Put that man in the backwood. But but I will say this about Marshawn Lloyd. He does have the draft capital. He does have the opportunity. And he does have the athletic ability of being a RB2 to Jacobs. He just has to, one, stay healthy, go out there and show what he can do. But also to throw out a little wrinkle, Green Bay is overall offense. You just never know who's really going to get the ball in that offense if it's not Josh Jacobs. That's one person that you really know who's going to get the ball is Jacobs and Krabs in a way.
Listen, I know I'm scraping the barrel here. So, Rich, who you got?
You're scraping it like really, really scraping it, dude. Your knife's about to break. No, I would take the 3rd round pick and kind of re-roll and try to figure it out. I think, especially with the resurgence of the older running backs that we seen last year, I don't think Josh Jacobs is slowing down. That offense is all over the place.
Yeah, a lot of work on his tires, though.
Sure, but he looked fine doing it. I don't know why anything would change. I'm taking the draft pick over Lloyd, unfortunately.
Rocco, I feel like I'm gonna just get thrown to the wolves on this
man. I'm just kind of looking at his player profiler page, and
there ain't shit because he didn't do anything.
It's actually kind of sexy. He ran a 4.46, like you said, 88th percentile, 93rd percentile speed score, and 25 reps on the bench. His best comparable for some synergy in this room is DeAndre Swift. All that being said, I am out. I would pick him up on the waivers and throw him on the taxi, but I am not giving up any draft capital for him. I've actually dropped him on a couple teams where I just had so many guys that he was the guy that got the axe. But I also think that I don't see how this team can go out and be as run centric as they were in 2024, because they got their ass whooped late in the season when they became one dimensional. So I think they have to, air it out just a little bit more and let their 40 something $40 million quarterback throw the ball somewhat. And on that point, he did get hurt in the first game, and I don't think he was ever right the whole season, Jordan Love. So I can see this team being a lot more balanced going forward in 2025. And with that balance, I don't know if there's just enough meat on the bone for Marshawn Lloyd to be productive unless somebody gets hurt.
I will say
Josh Jacobs.
I will say to Mike's point, I did sell Marshawn Lloyd for a 2026 third. So there are people out there that are looking to buy Marshawn Lloyd, and there are people that will buy him off of you.
Hey,
third?
On that same point, I put Marshawn Lloyd on the buy now for any year third, and he sat there until I had to cut him.
Oh shit!
Damn, I would have bought him. Fuck it, because I
know. I know.
No, there's no fuck it, dude. We know you would buy.
I mean, in the sixth, so in that startup we're in, Huncho, I don't think you're in that league. I know you are, Rocco, but he went in the 16th round of our startup. Like, that's solid, see what happens kind of territory at that point. I think he's got some electric ability. You mentioned DeAndre Swift. I had him as my comp for him. But he also had 3.97 yards after contact, so he's a stronger version of DeAndre Swift, in my opinion. But I just got swept out here. You guys told me to go fuck myself. That's fine.
I don't think he's got enough electric to power a toaster, dude.
Last note. I'll give you guys these three options. If you had to choose between Marshawn Lloyd, a Jordan Mason, and let's say Tyrone Tracy, which one out of those three are you going with?
Mason.
Yeah, I'm going Mason too.
Lloyd.
He's got the clearest shot to get touches.
Yeah, I mean, because Aaron Jones is another dude who can't stay healthy. I guess
he's even way more dusty than Josh Jacobs, and they brought him in they sought him out and traded for him.
I just threw out guys that listen. I've seen Jordan Mason go for a third this offseason. So yeah, I think they all kind of have the same value. Shoot, when Scatterboo got drafted, that sent Tracy straight to a third for most people of not wanting to go get
I
him.
don't think he's done just yet either. To be
I don't
honest
think
with
he
you.
is. No.
I don't think he's completely toast yet.
I see our guy SC Romero was asking Lloyd or Jarquez Hunter. Also Woody Marks.
That's Jarquez for me. That's pretty easily Jarquez for me on that
Jarquez,
one.
Yeah.
Woody Marks, though, I'm taking Lloyd over Woody Marks. Because you want to talk about a guy who's old. Is Woody Marks is like 25 as well or something like that, ain't he?
That old fuck.
Yeah, that man could be, that man, he should be working at Publix right now. But other than
that, he tested poorly, but he's a good athlete on the field according to what's that field analytics deal.
Good pass catcher too. Who? Woody Marks that we're talking? Yeah,
Woody
really
Marks,
good pass catcher.
I think he's gonna walk into a role, but I don't know if it'll ever be more than a satellite pass catching type of guy.
Pitting two USC running backs against each other there, Woody Marks and Marshawn Lloyd. Very interesting choice. But Rich, who you got with the quarterbacks?
Oh boy. I think I got a pretty easy one that people are going to agree with me on, and that's going to be Justin Fields. In my opinion, I think he's walking into the best situation that he's ever been in. He's going in with a guy he's got a lot of cohesiveness with in Garrett Wilson, who also needs a resurgence in his career. I think, you could get him relatively cheap and end up with a guy who's going to be a low-end quarterback one due to his rushing ability. Easily a two. But just a guy who's finally, got the clear-cut role in New York. I think whereas he should have, I think he should have won the job in Pittsburgh, but they screwed him over there. But yeah, I think Justin Fields walks into the best situation of his life. He's improved every year since being drafted into Chicago, where I was pretty out on the guy because I was like, this guy can't throw the goddamn ball. All he does is run the ball. But he's improved consistently every year since then. And now with really a big opportunity in New York. I think, like I said, the biggest opportunity of his career. I think he takes off. I think he kind of clicks again with his guy, Garrett Wilson. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agreed with you on this when we talked about it pre-draft with Justin Fields. So I'm going to go yes on this. I liked what they did in the draft. I like the running back rotation that they have. I obviously like Garrett Wilson, guy who, we talk about going in almost in the third round in every single rookie draft or in the late second is Mason Taylor. A very nice safety blanket for Justin Fields. And we saw what he did with Cole Kmet in Chicago. So, and let's not forget, I don't know much about offensive line play at all. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, this left tackle is the best in the league, or especially when it comes to projections. But the dude they drafted out of Mizzou, I seen them talking about on the draft coverage. They were comping him to Jason Peters, and that's got my ears perked up, and that should
pretty decent
be major. Yeah, it should be major for Justin Fields. So this is a yes for me. Rocco, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually like it. I know a lot of people are concerned saying he doesn't have much to work with in New York, but I think we're going to have that fucking YOLO ball, that beautiful fantasy football, running his ass off, taking on the whole team. And people forget that he almost had 1,400 yards with my guy DJ Moore in Chicago. So I think it's going to be that kind of deal for him with Garrett Wilson, who I think is a low-key a candidate to lead the league in targets. If he doesn't get 140, 150 targets, I don't know who else got those targets, because it's not Alan Lazard and your guy Malachi Corley. I'm not even really in on Mason Taylor, to be honest with you. So it's going to be Fields to Garrett Wilson all the time. And if it ain't Garrett Wilson, it's not Breece Hall, then it's going to be highlight footage with Justin Fields. So he's going to be one of the funnest guys to have on your team. And as a quarterback 3, I don't think you can't get a much better QB3 than him.
Huncho.
I am one of those people that is going on a limb, and I've been a big Justin Fields advocate. Once again, Kirby Smart, I will never forgive you for not starting Justin Fields and having him transfer to Ohio State. Pissed me the fuck off. But I digress. I think Justin Fields won. He was QB7 in 2022, and for him, it's like people don't shit on. And I don't want to put them in the same tier because one, people like to discredit Jalen Hurts. Even as a Cowboys fan, I like to give Jalen Hurts his flowers because people like to think he's not a good quarterback, and I think he's one of the better. When you look at advanced stats and all that, he's in the top of guys. But he doesn't win fully with his passing. Like he's not somebody who goes out and throws over 25 passing touchdowns in a season. But what makes him one of the top quarterbacks in fantasy is that he can use his legs. Justin Fields is in that same makeup of guys, and I also think he has a better. I want to be very delicate when I say this. I think he has a liver arm than Jalen Hurts, but
he's got more heat. Yeah, I would say that.
Yes. So I think with Justin Fields, and I'm mad because he was actually on my list of quarterback buys. But
I saw that.
I love me some Justin. I absolutely love me some Justin Fields. I bought him for the 2025 201.
Oh, that's perfect.
Straight up.
Nice.
That's perfect right there.
Straight up.
I was going to ask, is that around the price point for him, in your guys' opinion? The 201, maybe even the 112, if you could get like a fourth.
I think it's a late first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I got a few trades here that I looked up. It was Tucker Kraft and a 2026 and a 2026 second and a 2027 third. Sorry, way too many fucking numbers typed too small for Fields. So Tucker Kraft.
There.
Okay. Fields and Bigsby for the 201 in 2025.
That's Fields and Bigsby for me on that one.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I don't know where you're going to go on this one. Khalil Shakir and 307 in 2026 for Fields. Because I know you're a Shakir guy.
Fields.
Super flex.
Yeah, super flex. You got to take Fields on that one. I do love Khalil Shakir though. He's just a steady Eddie type wide receiver. But if you got way too much upside with Justin Fields,
because you're getting a potential, and you could even say dark horse for QB1 if it really if it really goes that direction for him. Because once again, if you look at that overall offense, yes. They have Breece Hall. They have the running back rotation, and you have Garrett Wilson. And I'm still on the hill of Malachi Corley. I'm not ready to jump off of him too soon. And then Mason Taylor. But the ingredients for Justin Fields to have a good or to above average season in fantasy is, I think, the floor for him with his rushing upside. Now, things would have to be great for him to get into that top 5, top 3-ish, category. But what's stopping him from being in that top 10? A 201 for a top 10 quarterback in Superflex. I've been drafting him as my QB2 in some leagues. So I'm super happy with him as my QB3. I wouldn't per se want him as my QB1, but as a QB2, I'm super, super comfortable with him there because I think he can provide high-end QB1 position.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you're making about a QB2 for him. Even if he's like if you have, let's say, Caleb Williams and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields as your quarterback, he's a good rotational 2 with Trevor Lawrence because he's going to give you much higher upside than Trevor Lawrence is. Trevor Lawrence is going to give you the steady points. You could kind of play that week to week on who you want to start, or depending on what Justin Fields is doing, to be honest with you. But I kind of like that as a QB2 or 3. And I think, as I've gotten more and more into the Superflex leagues the past few years, 3 quarterbacks is super important because every year somebody gets fucked up.
Yeah.
Somebody ends up losing their league because they don't have 3 quarterbacks. So I think that's perfect. Again, Rich, you got a clean sweep of yeses on this one. Let's go with you, Rock.
I had one other thing about him is I think he's here for a good time. He's not here for a long time. I'm not sure with his throw inventory he'll be, a long-term quarterback unless he can improve that greatly. So he's a guy I would try to ride for a year and I would try to flip.
Yeah, one thing I said before the draft when we talked about Fields right before the draft is if the Jets are bad, but Justin Fields is good fantasy-wise, the best time to flip him would be right then because people are going to just see, Justin Fields having 18 to 22 fantasy points per game. They're not going to see the Jets being 0-6, right?
Yeah.
Some people are just going to look at the fantasy points and try to win now, and you're going to get a good payday out of that. And then they're going to move on from him more likely than not.
They could absolutely.
The time to flip Fields would be during the season if the Jets are bad.
If I'm being honest,
go ahead.
If I'm being honest, if you're going to flip Justin Fields, and if he's going off, right, smart choice would be just to flip him for some 2027 picks.
That's it.
Go for them 2027 picks, and hopefully you can go get yourself an early first because that draft class is going to be nuts, and you're going to want multiple firsts in that draft class.
Yeah, with that offense being so bare, I mean that team could definitely, kind of not reach expectations on wins, and they could be right back in the 26th drafting, a first round QB.
Yeah, for sure. Rocco, who is your QB buy?
All right, this QB kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, not as bottom as Marshawn Lloyd. This guy actually is going to start. Sorry, big dog Mike. But you could actually get him for a 26 mid-second. I've seen some deals. He's right now in Fantasy Pros. He's the QB 28, and he's also the KTC QB 28. But if you look at it, in 2022, he was the 8th best quarterback in the league.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And 23, he was the 20th, and last year he was the 15th. And he has been reunited with the guy he had all that success with in 2022. I'm talking about my guy, Geno Smith.
Oh, okay.
Who do you thought I was talking about?
You're going to say Russell Wilson or something.
Oh, fuck no.
I got scared.
No.
I was like, huh?
No. But yeah, he had 8th in adjusted completion percentage, 8th in PFF passing grade last year, and he was actually 4th in passing yards last year on what turned out to be a not so great offensive line, where he kind of had to carry the Seattle team. He was kind of high in interceptions, and that's been the knock on him. But another team traded for him and then gave him a contract. So I feel like he is locked in. He's got some elite weapons with Brock Bowers. He has the top running back in everybody's Dynasty league with Ashton Genty. And he's got some really good, interesting receivers, professional receivers with Jack Besh and Jacoby Myers. And they're building up that offensive line. So I think the Raiders can sneakily be one of the better offenses. And at QB 28, to give up a 26 mid-second, I'm trying to get him every time. I mean, he can even be your QB 2 if you really, if you built out, at other positions. So give me Geno Smith every time if I can get my hands on him.
Yeah, I would. If we had the round of applause sounder, I would give you that right now. This has been the best pick so far in all the buys, to be honest with you. I think Geno is on pace to be another top end fantasy starter just because of, you mentioned, Pete Carroll. When we saw him with Pete Carroll, he was lighting it up a few years ago. Chip Kelly knows how to work with these kind of quarterbacks. We saw it with Nick Foles, prototypical pocket passer, right? I think this is the perfect situation for Geno. I think if you were to give me the option of, quarterbacks who switch teams, Geno would be on the top of my list when it comes to like him, Sam Darnold, him and Justin Fields to me would be a coin flip because you're getting Geno for cheaper, but you're not getting the upside swing on Fields. So it would be kind of a coin flip for me depending on my team structure. But all day, Geno Smith for the mid-second. I think that's a wonderful call out.
I think with Geno, what you're looking for is very consistent, solid work from Geno. That's what if you're looking for a QB2 that you could just slot in there and not have to worry about, like you can get you a solid 15 piece a good week or every week and you'll be okay. He might not give you the overall high upside as a Justin Fields, but he has moments where he goes off and throws for like 3 passing touchdowns in a game. And I think we'll have to see how that overall Raiders offense goes with Ashton Genty and Myers and the rest of that receiving core and how they gel and get going. And then to also throw out one of the best the generational tight end, Go Dogs, you know how we be. And Bowers. I think that things could really be up. And honestly, if you catch the right person, you could end up getting Geno for a late second.
I can see that for sure.
And once again, I think people undervalue that QB spot in Superflex a lot, where they think they could get by, and where you can get Geno Smith. He's one of the last quarterbacks taken in startup. So, if you're looking at me, somebody who likes to how I go about my startup strategies, I kind of like to go get elite wide receiver talent in those first 2 rounds. So let's say and then probably go get one of my quarterbacks in that 3rd or 4th. But let's say if I'm testing the waters and I'm like, there's a lot of other offensive players do I feel like that could be good for my team? Geno Smith gives me the ability to wait a little bit later in startups, take that higher end wide receiver or running back and still get an adequate QB2.
Rich?
No, I kind of think that's perfect. I love the Geno Smith buy. I think everyone kind of expected the Raiders to kind of go quarterback in the draft, and they didn't. I guess later in the draft, I should say. I mean, if
Cam Miller,
right? But like you guys said, Geno Smith is kind of the perfect QB2. And for that price, hell yeah, I'm going out and grabbing him. They got Brock Bowers, who some guys even in this podcast have traded me before he was drafted. I don't know who it was, but
no, swap of picks.
He served me him up.
No. I didn't trade you Brock Bowers straight up. I traded back, and I got somebody else.
Some would even say that he was on the clock, and Brock Bowers was sitting there, and he was like, "No," and I was like, "Why? Certainly." But that's neither here nor there.
I ended up getting Drake May, so I'm still okay with that. So
Brock Bowers, Drake May. I don't know.
We're gonna be all right.
That's neither here nor there. No, I think Geno Smith is kind of one of those guys who took off late in his career, and it's kind of awesome to see. I think he's going to continue it in Las Vegas. They are seemingly building around him, so it's kind of let's see where it goes. But a QB2 at what did you say it was at mid
QB 28
for what was
QB 28 mid 26 second?
Hell yeah.
Is his price tag.
Where if you're looking for a quarterback, where are you gonna that's a perfect right? That's a perfect trade. And Mike, like you said, the 3 quarterback thing, a lot of times you're good until you're kind of not good. And I think Geno Smith is a perfect QB2, but hell yeah, I would pick him up for that.
Consummate professional too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a Huncho's point about not feeling too comfortable about him as my QB2. Last year, he had 8 performances in the top 12, which made him a QB1 8 times last year. And I think his situation is leagues better this year. I think organizationally, I think it's a better situation.
He kind of seems like he flies under the radar. Like since getting to Seattle, I feel like he's like, at least in fantasy wise, has kind of like flew under the radar.
It's the stigma of being a bust and you being a late career breakout.
Yep.
I think that's part of it.
That's exactly it.
Huncho, you are up next with your quarterback. Again, Rocco got another clean sweep on that one. I think he had a clean sweep for his running back. He gets a clean sweep for quarterback. But Huncho, who do you got? Let's see if you could continue the fourth in fantasy sweep.
Yeah, man. So mine is a little hard because I think both of these guys are for sure guys.
Just a little hard.
No,
It's just a little hard.
Tiny bit. But I think are we doing honorable mentions?
Yeah, we're gonna do an honorable mention.
All right, cool. Then I will go with my boy Dak Prescott here. That I think in 2025 he is a buy. He's back to being a buy, where he was QB3 in 2023, and then 2024 fucked his joint up, tore that little thing, had me off the bone, set me into depression for the rest of the season. So we now are back to him being fully healthy. And then let me throw out a few wrinkles just from a Cowboys fan of following the team and what I've noticed from Mike McCarthy being gone. One thing and I would just like to say, Mike McCarthy was Dak Prescott's biggest op. Like if Dak Prescott ever sees Mike McCarthy on the street, he should probably see that man and slap this dog shit out of him, because he didn't make no part of the offense easy for Dak. He didn't modernize it. There was no type of motion. There was no type of creativity to it. He was just having guys just go out there, run a route, and trying to make the best of it and make Dak put the whole team on his back. Don't get me wrong. I think Dak is a great quarterback. I think he could be great. I think he's a quarterback that could get us to the Super Bowl. But when you're making,
wait.
Yeah. I'm going.
Is he great or can he be great? Which one?
I think he is great. He's top 10. He's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And
I could agree with that. When healthy, yeah.
He's a top 10 quarterback. And then when
every other year he is.
And
every other year,
I think
he's a leap year quarterback, dude.
I think he's like the last he's the last crop of quarterbacks who, when it comes to that pre-processing part of the game, that they had the whole total control of their whole offense, right? So then you throw in Shadi, who believes in cuts, split cuts, who believes in motion, who believes in moving guys around and making it easier on his quarterback. And then we go to go get George Pickens, I think, who complements CD so well. So you already have a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. You get a George Pickens, who, once again, go dog, stop playing with me, I think could be, who was being held back by the Pittsburgh Steelers and by some really horrendous quarterbacks besides Justin Fields. And I think with Dak Prescott, he could be, and when he's really on, he's healthy. Dak Prescott usually is in the top 5 when passing touchdowns. If you're in a league where passing touchdowns is 6 points, I'm 100% sending out. I'm not touching out. My Cowboys fandom is not letting me give out no first for no Dak. I'm not on that. I'm not on that crack. But mid-second, late second, I would even do a early second for Mr. Dak Prescott, just because I think he could give you QB1 weeks for sure.
Second?
I mean, I don't know if a second is doable.
You ain't getting it.
If I'm doing a second, I'll do a second.
You ain't getting Dak for a second. You gotta pony up like probably a mid first.
I give you
first.
I can do no first, but what I could do,
market value,
I could slide you 2 seconds, player, and we could act like first. You know what I mean? That's what we could get to.
I'm holding on to my Dak Prescott and watching him blow up this year and selling him when he's blowing up.
So last year, a trade I did in the playoff, well, relatively towards the playoffs of last year, for my QB3, because I wanted to get a little bit younger, but I ended up getting Bryce Young, and I believe it was like the 302 for Dak Prescott.
2 seconds for Dak Prescott will left you on red. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. You might be right on that one, because I would be in that range of like well, like 111, 112 is what I'd be
could
comfortable
do it.
giving up.
I
If
could
you're
do
hold
it.
on, time out. If you're okay with giving that up for, in that field range, wouldn't you be comfortable giving that up for Dak?
He's
Mm-mm.
he's just a little bit older, honestly. I mean, we're talking about dynasty.
His
If
health.
But he's more stable though.
but
He's more
yes, but
stable. He's got a better 2-3 year window.
Fields
probably.
could flush out of the league.
and that's
Like
cool
this is his
too.
last chance.
That's cool too. But also by having, and once again, this is my quarterback. Him snapping up that thing can also be a very possible thing too. So it's like, do you really want to shove out a first and then him being out for the rest of the year? This in the last 4 years, Dak has had a season-ending injury, and they haven't been of the none of the least complicated shit. Like he like you know what I'm saying? So do I love me some Dak? Is his value a first rounder? Sure. But do I feel comfortable giving somebody a first rounder when I can go out and get a Bryce Young, or I can go out and depending on how I'm feeling, I could maybe swindle that for Trevor Lawrence, depending on how somebody's feeling about Trevor Lawrence. Some people are still low, don't feel very high about T-Law. I'm one of those people that's still been on the hill, that's been like, let's see what he can do. But
I'm with you on that one.
I mean, if I really needed to, if shit came to shove and you had me by a chokehold, I'll give you a late first for Dak Prescott. Am I going to be happy for you? Am I going to be talking? If we're going to be best buds for the rest of the year, probably not. But I'll do it.
When he's healthy, he was quarterback 3, quarterback 8, quarterback 2, quarterback 10, quarterback 7, quarterback 14. Like
so, how many? Dude,
Every
you're
other
talking
year.
health is the big concern. You don't want to get me on talking about Joe Milton. Don't get me started on Joe Milton. I think he's going to start by week 9. So,
right.
out your fucking mind.
I dude, listen, I'm out of my mind until I'm in it. I'm telling you,
Bro.
you wait. He's hurt all the damn time.
Not
so you're
every
saying,
other year.
okay, so hold on, time out. You're not saying Dak's going to
Not
lose
every
the
other
job.
year.
No,
You're just-
he's hurt all the time. But I think this is kind of what we've seen in Dallas's history. Dak's going to get hurt again, and then Joe Milton's going to take over and play, just kind of like we've seen when Tony Romo got hurt, and then Dak came in. Like we've seen the younger quarterback get ushered in, and I feel like that's what's going to happen in Dallas, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
But
I hit you up with some science here.
Oh boy, is it good
Very
science?
very scientifical stats right here. 2019, 4,900 yards, 30 touchdowns. 2020, 5 games, 18-9. 2021, 44, 50, and 37, 16 games. 2022, 28, 60. 2023, 4,536. 2024, 1,978 and 11. You know what? You see where I'm going with this?
Oh shit! So
2025.
We're on the opposite end.
Year. It's the 4,530 plus touchdown year. Bye.
I don't know. Yeah,
Look,
dude, that's
look
actually
at
like
Pro
that's a
Football
really good
Reference.
point. That's a good point.
Every other year, Dak. He's got CeeDee Lamb healthy. He's got his number 2. Finally, they let Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert go to pasture. He's got 2 solid wide receivers. It's going to be magic this year. Now, 2026, hopefully you sold by then. But 2025, it's going down.
So we all kind of agree that Dak Prescott is a solid buy. It's just the price points are a little different between the 4 of us, if that's what I'm understanding.
Yeah,
I really like Dak with
Yeah.
Lamb and George Pickens. My biggest concern, though, a lot of those, those big seasons that he's had, they've had a good running game. And I'm not 100% sure they have that at this point. And now, was it Zach Martin that retired, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah,
so that's a
for
huge loss for them. That's a huge loss for that offensive line. So I'm still interested because I know they're going to play fucking and chuck it football, especially with the rotation of running backs that they have and the wide receivers that they have. So I'm very interested in Dak. But let's get into my buy. And you know how I talked about I scraped the bottom with the running back. I'm not going to really do that here. So we're going to talk about our honorable mentions in a little bit here, but I had 3 quarterbacks here that I was very interested in, and they were all from the 2024 class of quarterbacks. And I decided to go with the guy who you can get at the cheapest value right now. It's going to be Michael Penix, quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. I've seen him in our league, in our startup, go at the 412. Adjust the rankings, part of the FF universe. Make sure you check them out. They just did a startup mock, went at the 5.6. You're getting him basically the 5th round, a starting quarterback in the 5th round, a young starting quarterback with an ascending offense, with a really good offensive line. I am all in on Michael Penix. He is Tua with a working brain and a cannon for an arm.
Oh shit!
I
damn,
think
I get the left-handed reference too, dude. That's awesome.
no, but they throw like they are so accurately sound in the way they throw the football. It's eerily, obviously left-handed that stands out, but like they just throw dimes all across the field. I watched a good 9-minute cut up of throws. I probably was less than that. I think it was 6 minutes because he only played 3 games, but just cut ups of 20+ yard throws by Michael Penix. And this is a guy who came in, the last 3 weeks of the season, who was just off the mark with a lot of these throws. You're coming into his 2nd year where he's going to be the guy in this, this training camp, this off season, going into the regular season. He's going to get the details down. He's going to get familiar with his wide receivers, all of his pass catchers. And this is a dude in those 3 games, 2 of those games went to overtime, and he didn't fucking flinch at all. Against Carolina, threw a dime to Kyle Pitts in the end zone to take that into overtime.
Who?
I think this dude is legitimate. I think that the value you're getting for him is crazy. I traded in a league Dalton Kincaid and 2 seconds for Michael Penix. I'm all over that. As much as I love Dalton Kincaid,
dude,
he's let me down.
As much as you drove from Philadelphia to by yourself to fucking Buffalo, New York to
I went to watch a Bills game.
Yeah,
I went to watch.
Get the fuck out of here. Give reference to this, dude. You drove all the way to Buffalo, fucking 90,000 miles. Not really 90,000, but bought a Dalton Kincaid jersey by yourself in Buffalo, and now you're fucking selling them down the river?
Listen, I went to go
That
watch
is
the
insane.
Buffalo Bills play because I wanted to go into that stadium and see what it was like. But it was an awesome experience. No, listen, I had a back injury at that time. That would have been a really bad option for me. I had back surgery not long before. Yeah, I had a lot of back surgery not long before that. I wasn't fucking around. I think this is, the guy that has the most to gain this year at the quarterback, especially in that 2024 class. Other trades that I've seen, you mentioned Dak earlier. Who would you rather have, Dak or Penix? I've seen that trade go down straight up.
Probably Dak.
Really?
Yeah. I'd probably go Dak too. Has Penix been named the starter?
Yeah.
I think I'd take Penix. I think he can be better for longer.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a better long-term outcome, I guess. But
if I'm trying to win a championship, it's Dak. Dak is going to kill in 25.
Yeah, I could see the argument there, but for me, the range of outcomes really kind of without the rushing upside, even though he did rush for a touchdown and he can run slightly. He's not, but that's not really his game. I could see the range of outcomes being from Michael Penix, a perennial, 8 to 10 finish kind of guy, because he could throw, the 4,000+ yard seasons. He can throw the 30+ touchdowns. He's got an alpha wide receiver in Drake London. He's got a very solid wide receiver 2-3 in Darnell Mooney. He's got the best running back in football, in my opinion, in Bijan Robinson, who's probably also one of the best pass-catching running backs in all of football. Let's be honest. So my thing is
better.
Cap.
Never mind.
I'm just reading numbers. That's all. Sorry.
Cap.
I gotta exit these numbers. I know it's dude. It's every year everyone goes well, this guy's younger, so now this is the new guy, and then this is the new guy. Now this year it's RJ Harvey, and then next year it's going to be, what's his name, Love, and then it's the year after that. It's every year that we go. We kick the can down the road. The can gets kicked down the road. This is the resurgence of the older running back.
Anyway, in those 3 games, we all should like both of them. They're all both great running backs, but.
I think they're both
when we saw Atlanta in those last 3 games and those defining moments where they needed a win to get in the playoffs. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get it done, but it wasn't because of Michael Penix. he kept them in those games, right? He was making those late throws. He was making those, what's it called? He didn't lose the football game for the Atlanta Falcons. The defense kind of really sucked last year, let's be honest. And they made some additions on the edge, so that'll be big for them. I think this is a guy who's just, we get him at this value now, and you're just going to be happy for years to come. Almost like
the trade value for him, Mike.
So I've seen, Dak for him straight up. So we're talking like a late first round. And for a quarterback at 24 years old, coming into a good offense it seems to be a good system around him with an offense coordinator from the Rams. I'm all in on that. And I think, the offense in general looked better with Michael Penix under center than it did with Kirk Cousins, obviously, because they had to, adjust everything they had known about the Atlanta Falcons for those, 15 some odd weeks, because Kirk's arm looked done. But then you got Michael Penix, who's throwing 50 yards in the blink of an eye very easily. Bijan had open running lanes. Drake London became the guy we all hoped for. I think Michael Penix is an insane buy right now.
I can get jiggy with it.
I agree. I think they're going to be forced in a lot of shootouts because I don't think that defense is still going to be worth the shit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just because like you just said, the defense ain't going to be worth the shit, and they've been behind the 8 ball on the defensive side of the ball since they drafted Kyle Pitts, and they shouldn't draft Kyle Pitts, but they've been behind the 8 ball since then. My only hang up would be like, what kind of weird interaction are we going to have with Kirk Cousins? Like, I get it. Michael Penix looks better. That's fine. But you paid, Kirk Cousins $100 million. Do they move on from him? Do they
first cut?
But, dude. I think we're going to see some kind of hairy situation down there. It's like, what do we do?
Right.
Like, do we trade him? Do we cut him? He's $100 million quarterback. You're not going to have $100 million backup.
We've talked about the Eagles here a lot. We've seen this happen where it was Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz. They will cut these
$42 million. We didn't cut Carson Wentz. We traded him.
Did trade him,
but we took that fucking big ass cap hit.
Yeah, we took it.
Right. So I think eventually that does happen, but like in the back of my mind, am I like, well, does it happen? I hope so, but like it hasn't happened yet. But like that capital that you're trading, I think he's a better quarterback option than what you could draft. So I would be in on Penix.
How about Penix or Dart?
Penix.
Yeah, it's Penix for me too.
Yeah.
I know.
Dart, I believe more in what I've seen than
especially as a passer. Especially as a passer, that film in Washington, I loved watching Michael Penix. Man, he was him and Drake May were my 2 favorite quarterbacks of that class. So it seems like I finally got a clean sweep of wins here instead of what happened with my running back picks. Let's quickly go over our honorable mentions for the running back and quarterback position. We'll start with you, Rocco. Who you got? Just real quickly.
Who do I got? Quickly. Jonathan Taylor, I'm still in on Jonathan Taylor at running back 10. I think he's better than a lot of people in front of him. On the cheaper end, Tony Pollard. If I can get somebody to sell me Derrick Henry, I would pay for it because I think he wins championships for his owners. And Breece Hall, I'm still in on Breece Hall. That's my guys that I was kind of going through before I settled on KW3.
That's perfect, pretty much. Rich, how about you?
I only got one running back, and that's going to be Tank Bigsby. I think there are a lot of people who are out on Tank Bigsby because they drafted Tootin, and most guys are out on Travis Etienne. So I think it's Bigsby's job to lose. If I'm not mistaken, he was a 3rd round pick. So there's no reason really to. It's kind of like your Marshawn Lloyd argument. He's got the capital, but this time the incumbent is kind of on his way out. So Bigsby would have been my guy.
He was almost my guy as well. He's an honorable mention for me as well. I just need to say this, and real quick, he's a better overall running back than Bashal Tootin, and you can argue with me.
He was drafted higher than him too.
Well, I don't even care about that. He's a better overall back than Bashal.
I think Rocco would argue with you on that one, but
I'm in on Tootin, but I guess we'll see on that one.
Huncho, who you got?
As my honorable mentions, I have Mr. Alvin Kamara. You could just never write him off. I think when it comes to PPR, he is the PPR king, man. They know how to get him receptions, even when he's being inefficient on the ground. But I also think he could be better this year on the ground than he was relatively last year. So Alvin Kamara is always somebody that I'm looking to target. And he could also be one of those guys that could be acquired for that, a second rounder. So I always value him, James Conner, those kind of guys that you can pretty much end up getting for a mid-second. And some more, two other. Actually, I can't even say two other because one of them got taken. But Chuba Hubbard, I've been on. Chuba.
You got mine. That's my other one.
Chuba,
my boy Chuba, man. I think people are. Don't get me wrong. I still like Rico Dowdle, and he did really good things for the Dallas Cowboys last year. But I think people are overestimating his role to Chuba. I think one is to keep Chuba healthy so he doesn't get banged up like he did last year. But I think he still is the feature running back of that offense. And then when you're looking at it in the general landscape of things, Xavier Legette, you hope he has a year or two. They got Tech McMillan, so that should be another added weapon to that overall offense. And I think just a year two of Bryce Young in that offense with who's their head coach? It's slipping my mind.
Canales.
Thank you, Dave Canales. I think that it's really good up for Chuba Hubbard. He just got to be able to stay healthy, and I think another 1,000-yard season is very much in his wheelhouse to get you. He could be that. I mean, shoot, I won one league. Unfortunately, he is my RB1. Actually, I take it back. I traded for Jahmyr Gibbs recently. Jahmyr Gibbs is now my RB1, but he was my RB1 before making that trade. But now Chuba is my RB2, and I think he makes a really good RB2 on teams that could, in some weeks when they end up giving him the rock or seeing a lot of volume. There was a lot of weeks where he was in that top 10, top 8 RBs of the week finish.
Yeah, he was top running back 14 last year overall. So
I like me some Chuba.
Yeah, exactly. He was one of mine too. So real quickly on that, I have him as well. You can get him for like that mid-second, late-second type, depending on the team. I'm all in on that. I think, the RB2 mentioning, like you said, is great. Even as a flex option, depending on how many flexes you start, he's great. And again, I like Rico Dowdle, but, it remains to be seen what he can look like as in Carolina, where it's, the offensive line isn't as great as it was in Dallas at that time. And then ETN is there as well. Trevor Etienne, I just didn't want to screw that up, so I had to make sure I got that right. Go Dogs. I don't know if I really believe in him as much, but that remains to be seen. Real quickly, my honorable mention quarterbacks were Caleb Williams and Drake May. You're getting them in the mid to late second of your startup drafts. People haven't really caught on to the Caleb Williams ascension with the things that they've added in the offseason. I think now is the time to get in on that. Last year, he was like a late first, early second startup pick, that 112-2-1 spot. I saw him go in a number of places. And now all of a sudden he's a late second round pick. You need to strike while the iron's hot on that. And then Drake May has the chance to take the next step. He was the guy who probably had the worst surrounding cast last year, and we were pleasantly surprised with what we saw with the lack of weapons that he had in New England. And he's got the highest rushing floor outside of Jaden Daniels from that 2024 class. So Drake May is another great one. Do you guys have any last words for honorable mentions?
No, I had Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. I think they're both in good situations. Guys who are
bro. And then stop taking my pigs, my G. Oh my god.
It's like I'll share a brain.
I just think these are both fringe QB1 guys for you, but very solid, very, very solid QB2s.
I am always on board with Baker Mayfield. He's routinely one of the quarterbacks that I rely heavily on for my dynasty builds, just because I know the production is going to be good out of Baker. Like he's even, and then when you look at the cast, you just hope Mike Evans stays healthy. You hope Chris Godwin stays healthy, and then you throw in Mako Ibuka, you throw in Jalen McMillan, you throw in an Otten, you throw in a Bucky Irving. That offense he has the weapons around him, and I love the makeup of Baker. He's rowdy, he's very confident, he's very in your face. I love all that shit. I love a person who is almost as their confidence could be even pushed to arrogance. It's just a tad bit, just of how they just be feeling about themselves. Baker's always a buy for me, and there's some people that be like, oh, I need me a late first just because of the production. I think he finished QB4 last year. So it could be that range of anywhere between 110 to the 202. I'd be comfortable buying for Baker.
I don't know what leagues you in, because you can't get quarterback for that cheap. That was top 5 last year. That's still in his early 30s. The guys I got at quarterback, I got 3 guys that are still left on the board. Jared Goff, who's QB 21 on KTC, even though he was a top 7 QB-ish for the last 3 years in a row, and he still has all of those elite weapons. Matthew Stafford, who has finally replaced Cooper Kupp with an actually another wide receiver one in Devontae Adams. So they're starting to fill in some talent around there, and I think we can see some explosive stuff. And he's the QB 30. I mean, what is that? You got bench guys
early third, probably.
That's just dumb value. I would give up a late second all day for him. And my guy who hasn't played yet, but he is in one of the best situations in all of football.
Tyler Shuck.
Fuck no. No. I was gonna say that's why I'm not buying Alvin Kamara, because I don't even know if I trust that offense. JJ McCarthy he's throwing to Jets, he's throwing to Addison, he's got TJ Hawkinson, and they just drafted Ty Felton, who a lot of people like. So, and that team turned Sam Darnold, the Dick Hammer himself, into like a top 5 quarterback and won 14 games with Dick Hammer. Fuck out of here. This guy's going to fucking blow up.
Listen, I was the lowest on JJ McCarthy coming into last year, but I can't deny that, what we just saw in Sam Darnold isn't a little enticing to me, to be honest with you. So I completely agree with you on that one. But I'm not taking him over Penix. We've seen this argument on Twitter before with Cam Ward versus JJ McCarthy. I still might fuck around and take Cam Ward just from an upside of a passing upside talent-wise with Cam. But that's a tough one just because of the system.
JJ all day.
Yeah, it's hard because that system.
Calvin Ridley to Jets. Whew.
No,
I'm taking. It's got to be able to get him the ball first. So
I can see where
you can get him the ball.
I think Cam Ward's.
Dick Hammer can get him the ball.
I'm thinking. I can see value-wise, more people, it would probably cost you more to acquire JJ McCarthy than it would take Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward in a year or two could end up being the same, could end up giving you the same production due to don't get me wrong, JJ McCarthy can still use his legs. I don't think in the first year back he'll be as mobile or wanting to use his feet as much. But that's actually. Well, I think it brings me to one of my honorable mentions before we go that we didn't bring up. Bo Nix, who I actually required relatively recently. I shipped off the 103 straight up for Mr. Bo Nix. And I felt absolutely great because he was one of my guys I was targeting before he even, as a draft prospect, because that's how great I felt about him in that Denver Broncos offense. He only went about proving me right. I think it was only up in 2025, year 2 in Sean Payton's system. They still have Sutton. They're going to get. We're going to see if Marvin Mims can approve. We're going to see if we can get we're going to see if we can get a year 2 jump from Troy Franklin. They got Evan Ingram. They got RJ Harvey. That overall offense is looking relatively dangerous. And Bo Nix was a top 10 quarterback in his rookie year. Go get that boy. Stop playing with him.
No, that's a good one. 103 to me, that's a tough ask, but I could see it because he's the best option at quarterback there for right now. I would take him over Cam Ward, especially in a win now sense, and probably that's tough for the future because I'm a big believer in Cam Ward just because the Sean Payton offense, there's nothing wrong with getting the quarterback of that offense. And you just mentioned Evan Ingram is like my favorite buy in all of tight end realms right now. We talked about that last week. So again, I want to thank you guys for jumping on with us. Fourth and Fantasy Podcast. Rocco, we'll start with you. Plug what you got going on and where we can find you.
Siriaco Solar FF. You can find all of my stuff there. Fourth and Fantasy. We have our show dropping twice a week. And that's about it. We're just all the way behind the podcast, and that's where you can find basically all of my content.
Awesome. Honcho, what you got?
Yeah, y'all know what it is. But you can find me at the tag at the below Huncho _GAB. Join the Fourth and Fantasy Discord. If you guys would have it in the description box or like that. Cool. But y'all can find that in the description box. We have subscribed to our YouTube channel. Like Rocco said, we shoot twice a week, and then we also drop multiple shorts throughout the week. Bring in the vibes, man. This was actually a really cool video, a really cool show. Appreciate y'all boys having us on, man. I've been looking forward to this all week, so I was glad we was able to get this one in the books.
Same here, man. I really appreciate you guys jumping on. Rich, any final thoughts?
Yes. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. That's a big issue for the Dynasty Dogs. If you have issues, if you have problems, everyone does. Just get out there and talk to someone. Talk about your problems. I know it's a hard thing, especially for men, to get out there and speak about. But if you have issues, if you have problems, we all do. Get out there and find someone to talk to, because it's a lot better to keep it out than to bottle it up. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great words, Rich. We will see you guys next week for the Dynasty Dogs. We'll be making our case for selves for the fantasy football universe, and the Dynasty Dogs. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.
Peace.